is human artifacts have been discovered that date as far back as 9,000 years ago.
What?
From about 300 AD to colonial times, the native people depended on the swamp as a source of game. The Native Americans revered the swamp for all it gave the people and used it as like sacred burial grounds. The Wampanoag both worshipped and feared the area as the chief deity of death and disease, called Hokkamak, was said to dwell in the swamp among many Algonquin tribes. Hokkamak was destructive, evil, and usually in opposition to Cottontontuit. I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's a Native American word. Good luck. They call him the great creator god. So he's like good, wow. And Hokkamak was evil.
Yeah.
But the way Native American deities work is like they're not all encompassing into one feeling. They're usually, it's almost like Greek.
A wide spectrum.
It reminds me about like, all right, I grew up going to a lot of powwows and stuff because I'm part Native American. My mom really like wanted us to know that side of us. So we went to a lot of powwows and we talked to people, which I just found out recently wasn't like something everybody did.
I couldn't believe you were serious when you asked me that question. You were like, you didn't do that when you were a kid? I'm like, what?
It just felt like, I don't know, to me it just seemed like something everybody did. But you learn that like the spirits of the land aren't, they're not just good and bad. They're all of them. But some are more good than they are evil and vice versa. Basically they can all turn on you in a second. It's really weird. Look into it if you're into that kind of stuff. It's super interesting if you don't already know about it. It's really awesome. The Wampanoag named the swamp Hokkamak, meaning place where spirits dwell. Early colonists called it the Devil Swamp.
Ooh. Creepy.
The Hokkamak Swamp is pretty creepy.
I've seen videos. It's not a beautiful little lake or anything.
Parts of it are. Don't talk about it.
Stop it.
Hokkamak will come get you. The Hokkamak Swamp is the largest freshwater swamp in Massachusetts and is almost 17,000 acres spread across parts of Easton, Bridgewater, Norton, Raynham, Taunton, and West Bridgewater. In the 17th century, the swamp was used as a fortress by the Wampanoag people against invasion by early English settlers. During King Phillips War, it became a strategic base of operations for Chief Metacomet to launch assaults upon nearby English settlements. Now, I used a lot of Legends of America because, man, they wrote it so well. But I did have to kind of go out of the box with this because I didn't want to be like the King Phillips War and that's it.
Yeah. So
a breakdown of the King Phillips War is the King Phillips War, also known as the First Indian War, the Great Narragansett War, and the Metacombs Rebellion, took place in southern New England from about 1675 to 1676. It was the Native Americans' last-ditch effort to avoid recognizing English authority and stop English settlement on their native lands. The war is named after the Wampanoag chief Metacomb, later known as Philip or King Philip, who led the 14-month bloody rebellion during the 18th and 19th centuries. During the 18th and 19th centuries, Euro-American settlers deemed the swamp to be worthless and attempted to drain portions of it to use as farmland. Also within the triangle is the Freetown Fall River State Forest, a large area of forested land located in, of course, Freetown and Fall River, Massachusetts. Covering about 5,441 acres, this area was the site of the conflict between the colonial settlers and the Native American people beginning in 1659. The land was purchased from the Wampanoag people, and the town of Freetown was later established in 1683. Since colonial times, bizarre reports began to be told about the Triangle area, including giant snakes, strange creatures, ghosts, and missing people. In more modern times, reports include people having seen Bigfoot, UFOs, ominous black helicopters, mysterious balls of light, poltergeist activities, and even cattle mutilations.
It's a tough one to get out.
Mutilations. If I wanted to say mutilizations.
I don't think that's right.
Early on, The forest was said to have been home to a race of diminutive humanoid creatures known as the puckwudgies.
Puckwudgies.
Here we go. God rest on his soul.
Yes.
I'll get into that later. Now, long known in Delaware and Wampanoag folklore, these troll-like creatures, generally described as about 3 to 4 feet tall, with smooth, hairy gray skin and large ears, have a notorious reputation for mischief and mayhem. They were once said to have been friendly to humans, but later turned against them. These evil little beings, these sons of bitches, have been blamed for people who have fallen from cliffs, disappeared, and mysteriously died. I think the puckwudgie sounds ridiculous, personally, but my stepmother, rest her soul, laughed at me when I brought up Bigfoot and swore puckwudgies were real.
Oh, yes, I was there for that conversation. She says, how dare you say Bigfoot's real? Are you serious?
Oh, puckwudgies is like a thing. It's only really known in Massachusetts, not even in New England, just Massachusetts.
Ever heard of it until she stepped foot in this house. I was like, what?
I lived there. I was born there, and I had never heard about this until a few years ago. I had no idea what a freaking puckwudgie was. And
like even the name itself is
sounds
like
funny.
What? Like, what are you like? You're making this up, right?
It sounds to all right. It sounds and looks to me like something from Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes.
Like one of the characters of
like
Chuck
one
E.
of the
Cheese.
animatronic things.
Yes,
yeah. I know.
Five Nights at Freddy character. In the forest, some places are seemingly possessed of some type of like dark power. One of the most famous places is an 80-foot deep rock quarry known as the Assonant Ledge, more simply known as the Ledge. This is a scar left on the landscape by the Fall River Granite Company during the 1800s. And here, people often speak of having a compelling urge to jump off the cliff. Some reports say that some people actually have. And this is stories, like I have heard those stories because I used to hang out at the ledge.
Right.
And people would always tell you, don't get close to the edge. Just don't get close to the edge because people will just jump off. People have just jumped off for no reason.
Just because they felt like they needed to?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
Yeah, they just felt like, I don't know. They just jumped off.
Wow.
It's really weird. Actually, I spray painted up there once. I'm not proud of it, but I did.
I mean,
look,
we were all kids.
It's lost in a sea of graffiti that had been there long before mine. They had, in fact, jumped to their death. Other people talk of feeling like a sense of dread when venturing near the ledge. It is said that visitors have seen ghosts there, that it has been an alleged hotspot for Satanists and strange cults, and some have even seen UFOs. A similar site called Profile Rock, which I have a picture in my living room with me and my father sitting on top of Profile Rock.
Sure do.
Also has a paranormal reputation. Located in Freetown, the 50-foot-high rock looks like a human face, and the Wampanoag people have long considered the rock as sacred. According to native legend, the face in the rock formation is the image of Wampanoag chief Massasoit, whose son died at the very place the rock sits. Local legends say that the Native American ghost dancers are often seen in warrior dress, dancing around the rock, and that the ghost of a man has been seen sitting on the rock with outstretched arms, and other reports tell of a strange glowing orb of light being seen and disembodied voices being heard. Also,
in the middle of woods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, and this is like hard for me to like wrap my head around because I used to go out there with my family, my friends, and you did always hear people tell stories about these very things, Indians, and there were times like if you sit up on top of the rock, you did hear what sounded like Indians in the woods.
Just kind of chanting or drums
and chanting and stuff, and then you hear like locals tell stories of like, oh yeah, you know, I seen Native Americans out there in the woods and stuff. Like these are stories you hear like living there. And things that you hear when you're out there. It's weird. I feel weird talking about it because like I never felt uncomfortable going there.
Right.
It was always like I tried to bring you there.
Yeah. We did.
Unfortunately, the rock has now the whole face is slid off of it, and you can't go out there, which is sad.
It was sad because you have such fond memories of that.
Like I said, I have a picture of me and my father sitting on that rock in the living room.
Yep.
Also located in the forest is the immense 40-ton boulder known as the Dighton Rock. One of the greatest mysteries of Massachusetts, the slanted six-sided boulder is approximately 5 feet high, 9.5 feet wide, and 11 feet long. And for more than 300 years, people have wondered about the lines, geometric shapes, drawings, and writings that appear on the rock, and who created them. Several speculations have been made as to who made these markings on the rock, including Native Americans, Vikings, and even Phoenicians. I don't know how to say this word. Phoenicians. I don't know. Look it up.
Phoenicians, maybe?
Phoenicians. They're an ancient Mediterranean civilization, but their identity has never been determined.
Okay.
So, whatever. I can't say it. So what?
And?
They can't even prove who they are, so whatever. The forest has been known as the site of various cult activities, which is said to have included animal sacrifice and ritualistic murders committed by admitted Satanists near Freetown and Fall River. Mutilated animals were found in the 1990s that were believed to have been the work of one of these cults. The density of the forest has also been used by other killers, leaving behind the remains of their victims.
I don't like that. I don't know.
It's a big forest. In November 1978, the body of Mary Lou Arruda, a 15-year-old cheerleader abducted from Raynham, Massachusetts, that September was discovered tied to a tree in the state forest. James M. Cater of Brockton, Massachusetts, previously convicted of kidnapping in 1967, was convicted of the kidnapping and murder of Arruda in 79. That was a big case. I just heard a podcast about this like a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
3 more murders which subsequently related to the state forest. In 1987, a transient drifter mistaken for an undercover police officer was murdered in the forest. And in 2001, 2 men were found shot to death on Bell Rock Road, which runs through the forest connecting Assonant to Fall River. 2 assaults were also reported, a Fall River man in 1991 and a teenager from New Bedford in 1998. I found it weird when I was writing this because these were all times that I lived there.
Yeah. And that's I feel like that's a long stretch. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
from the 70s to the late 90s.
But these were just reported things.
Yeah, but I'm saying even just the reported things is a long time.
It is.
And yes, it could be vastly more than just that, but even just that is a lot. That's a long time. That's crazy.
Well, then you'll be happy to know that other incidents include
oh, God.
hazardous waste dumping in 1996, reports of aggressive abandoned dogs in 2006, and reports of an escaped emu wandering the forest in 2006.
Weird.
In May 2015, a woman slid 80 feet down a cliff while spray painting graffiti, broke her ankle, and had to be rescued. And in January 2016, an illegally dumped boat was discovered. In May 2016, wire cables were found stretched across the recreational trails, apparently intended to cause harm to off-road motorbike riders.
Oh, no.
Now, more strange history has occurred over the years in the remote brush and impenetrable trees and vines of the Hokkamak Swamp. In addition to natural dangers such as quicksand, thorns, and sinkholes, visitors have seen ghosts, UFOs, strange beasts throughout the years. There have been many reports of a shaggy ape-like creature, probably a Bigfoot, has been described as having a terrible stench. After one of these sightings, Bridgewater residents organized expeditions to search for the Bigfoot-like creature, but they found not a trace of the beast.
Wow. I know that if you believe in Bigfoot, he is very elusive and such. But you got to think, like, people are like, oh, but it smelled. Yeah, of course it freaking smelled.
It's a Bigfoot.
I'm like, what?
He's a Bigfoot. If I don't shower for a day, I smell too. There are others who have seen other mysterious creatures in the swamp. Some